Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Hello, 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 all my dear friends. I do believe that we are live. Welcome back. It has been quite some time, but welcome back to Witch Please. And we've got a little bit of a shakeup today, so I'm not going to say the rest of it, uh, and you're going to find out why. It's been a long time, and I'm not going to change the format of how I do this because I really dig the way that I talk and I share information. So we're going to start with a little bit of story time right now. I've been quiet. This is supposed to be a weekly podcast, and I've literally released, I think, 5 episodes so far this year. And in case you aren't aware, it is June 2nd, and that means there have been 5 months and at least 20 weeks. So 5 episodes, weekly podcast. I missed a few in case you haven't realized that. Yeah, and life has felt really strange for me in the last number of months. Uh, if you've been following along or been listening, you know that I held a corporate job for quite some time. And if you just knew, I've worked corporate. I've worked a corporate job almost the entire time that I've had the business. I mean, the entire time I've had the business, I guess, except for the last month. That's because a month ago, April 30th was my last day I stepped out of corporate. But my guys were encouraging me to make that move back in November. And when I didn't make the move, when I didn't put that kind of shift and request in, I've been feeling like the last couple of months I've been living kind of in this two time kind of um, timelines, this like stream of two timelines. And it's been very, very energetically draining to the point of I have a acupuncturist. I have a friend that does acupuncture, and I went and saw them a couple of weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago now, and they literally said they're like, your chi has been depleted. Like my life, my energetic has been depleted, and it's taken a lot. There's been a lot that's happened as well. Um, and with all of this, spirit, the universe has called me to shake things up. I shut down just before all of this eclipse season started. I shut down all of the programming. I'm still been seeing clients one-on-one, but all of my group and all of my coaching and mentoring kind of programming was shut down. And I didn't know why. That was just what was told to me, and so I did it. And they want me to change what I'm offering, my focus. So I've had to work through my own resistance in that, right? Anytime, I mean, I guess a little bit about me, I have a bit of a rebel side to me. I'm not a big fan of folks, um, anyone in this space, saying like, this is what you need to do, this is what you have to do, so to speak. And so even when my guides will come forward and say this, and I know that they're leading me down the right path, it doesn't change the fact that still somatically I may have resistance. There's things that I need to kind of like work through, layers to kind of peel back, right? Like, let's say you were to have a dream, and that dream said that you were going to become an incredible stage performer. You're going to become the next Taylor Swift, and yet you have horrible stage fright, right? Like if your guides are pushing you in that direction, you're going to have to work through that stage fright in order to achieve that, right? That's kind of how things are. So I've been working through my own resistance. So today I'm going to share with you what I've been resisting, because it is a shakeup, it is a shift, it is a change to the podcast as well as, some of the programming and things. But I am moving towards serving witches in recovery, specifically sober witches, right? So that'll kind of be a requirement for working with me moving forward in any type of coaching or mentoring container. Is I'm gonna work with folks that are sober, and so I figured we'll talk a little bit about some of the definitions, and then why you might be interested in this. And let's start first with the definition of a witch. And I think I've been sharing this, and it's just I'm getting so much more validation. Like literally a conversation I had yesterday validated my definition even more. So my definition, my belief, my philosophical belief behind what makes a witch is an individual that is choosing to enable, engage, activate, use, whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, their psychic abilities, magical powers, and their healing, kind of their healing energy, right? Their ability to heal, their healing gifts. right? So that is a witch, and they do this in order to be of service to others, right? A witch, a true witch, right, um is not doing it to be just of service to themselves. They're doing it to be of to service of others. And sobriety, the definition of sobriety, let's be clear on what I mean by that, is abstaining from drinking alcohol. That is like literally the definition. So sober means you do not consume alcohol. And I have had a couple of folks say, well, like, what if I just don't drink, or I just drink on occasion, or, it's like 1 or 2 drinks a year. And my sentiment is like, no, it's none, right? Like if it's only 1 or 2 drinks a year, it shouldn't be an issue to not have that 1 or 2 drinks a year. Right. And my belief in this, I'll probably have to cover it on some other podcasts, is just my belief in what alcohol is. And so by recovery, and I've been thinking a lot about recovery, like, what do I mean by recovery? We are recovering the things that we have lost, the life that we have lost because we were distracted and down another path, right? And so I do believe there's this interesting form of recovery that a sober witch kind of has, right? Because very often what I'm finding as I'm, talking to more and more folks who kind of meet this criteria, meet this label, is that often at some point they have given up their practice, right? They've given up their spirituality. They've given up their belief system. They've given up their, like incorporating their own spiritual beliefs within their day-to-day life for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's time, maybe it's lack of confidence, maybe it's, whatever reason. And they've become distracted, often because of the alcohol. Alcohol is like yeah, I mean, come on, it legitimately can cause people to black out and lose. So if you don't think that it's like losing, like helping you lose yourself. And so, yeah, recovery is getting back what we have lost because we have stepped away from our practice of witchcraft or our spiritual beliefs. And there's been a role of alcohol in that. And I'll tell you this, and I've had a couple of conversations as well around this role of alcohol. Sometimes there's one thing that I do not want to shy away from, and that is folks that they themselves may not actually identify as an alcoholic, but they are codependent of an alcoholic. And so that is something else. Alcohol has directly impacted their life, and they are now trying to stay away from partners, relationships, people, experiences where that alcohol actually is really prevalent. Which begs the question, why is this so important to me? Well, if any one of you that are listening has ever been around a 12-step program, the number one answer to that is it is part of my own recovery. It is part of how I stay sober. It is part of how I stay on my path to recovery. This is my life's purpose. This is what I've been brought here to do, right? Is to help bring these folks back into the alignment so that they can be their true, amazing, incredible, sober witch selves. Right? And make a change in this world, impact this world. That's why it's so important to me. I'm just realizing how important these last couple of weeks, as I've had some real shocks and some real hits to me. And even like, oh, wow, talk about a somatic response right now. And as some of you may be listening it as a podcast, but I do record and stream these on YouTube, and just, you might even, if you're watching the video, notice like some of my heartache in the last 30 days has been because I have, I've had pain, and I suppose you could even, might even say suffering, because of people in my life that have chosen to not step into recovery, and it just sucks. And so it's my life's purpose to help people do that, to bring them back into their own center so that they can be their own spectacular, amazing, incredible, divine, sober, witchy selves. Yeah. That's why it's important to me. Why am I sharing? Why am I sharing all of this to you? And kind of like why am I shifting the podcast in this direction? And simply put, this may resonate with you. You may be hearing some of this stuff right now and going like, oh shit, like this is what I've been waiting for. I haven't seen this. Yes, I am going to be focusing on sober which is in recovery, right? If you are one of them, right, simply put, this just may resonate with you. The other side of the coin is you may identify as a witch and has already given up alcohol. Like you've already made that choice. You are a sober witch. Uh, uh, and you're really noticing and wondering and curious what it would be like to kind of engage with other sober witches, like to literally be within a community or a coven for that matter, like a recovery coven. So that's one, right? One reason. Like this may already be you. And so you may be really, really interested in engaging with a group of other sober witches to see what kind of impact that may have on your own magic, your own life, right? So that's like we are going to be building a community of us, and that might be one of the reasons why. So this may it may interest you in that way. You may have already, so the other piece of this, you may have already given up alcohol. You may have already been sober. Maybe you're celebrating, a couple of days, years, whatever it may be, and you're finding that you are gravitating, like you're in your own path to recovery, you find yourself gravitating towards these very witchcraft type of topics. Like maybe your psychic abilities are flaring up, or maybe you're finding out that you're just more sensitive since you're sober. Maybe you find yourself gravitating towards crystals, astrology, things in the esoteric space, right? Like, hey, my dear, you may actually have a long, long history of witchcraft within you, right? Like your past lives and stuff like that. So this may be just a perfect way to kind of enrich your own practice. The other side of the coin is you may be somebody that practices witchcraft, that maybe has a really good practice and things of that nature, but you're curious about stepping into a life of sobriety. My experience is that even though I have been a witch since I was 16, so we are talking about almost 30 years at this particular point, right? Even though I've been a witch since I was 16, uh, my magic and my practice and how potent it is today would not be the point that it is if I hadn't actually stopped drinking, right? The drinking was a distraction. It's a complete distraction, right? And I go back to like my guides are telling me again, there may be some of you that are like once a day, once a month or once a year or anything of that nature. And that's fine. If that's your choice, this just isn't the program. This isn't the path, right? I'm really, really looking to work with folks that are ready to give up their relationship with alcohol or have given up their relationship with alcohol, right? Either way, so as I say all this, either way, you identify as someone who is ready to let go of one phase of your life and step into the life of recovery that embraces both sobriety and witchcraft on that journey, right? Both sobriety and witchcraft on that journey. These two things together have alchemical, have created an alchemical reaction for me that just has left this life that I'm constantly in awe over. So beautiful, so amazing, and so incredible. So yeah, things are going to be switched up a little bit more. Format of the podcast will be the same. I'm going to be trying to come back weekly now that we've had some of this resistance that I've been able to break through. I've shared with you some of these shifts and changes. We'll be recording these on Sunday, streaming them live on YouTube. So you can always go ahead and take a look on the channel if you want. Go ahead and find the Illuminate channel. And if not, and you're stumbling across this otherwise on one of the platforms or anything like that, please always, if this resonates with you, if you happen to be on this path, if you happen to be curious about stepping onto this path, please do not hesitate to reach out. This is what I'm here to do. to help you. All right, my dear friends, with that, I'm going to wrap for the day. It's a nice little podcast here. Until next week, much love from me to all of you, my dear friends.